has got to be right. And you're gonna make her shine. If it's gotta last forever, you can't worry about the time. It's the future generations that you pass the knowledge on. 'Cause these bikes will run forever, even when we are long gone.
Well, hello, my name is Ralph and welcome to the channel. It's my time, let's go. Today we're working away at Marley's bottom end and we're starting to get it together, and not without trials and tribulations, but things are coming along. So stick with us as we try to step you through the steps, and I'll try to give you as much information as I can to help you out in your future endeavors of working on your own bottom end. So today we're going to put a wrist pin bushings in our rods and get them ready. We've decided to talk to Brad, we're going to put new ones in it, and then it'll all be brand new, and that's what he wants. So in order to change these, you can put them in a press and press them out through and such. But there's this neat little tool that looks like this. What this will do, it'll enable you, if you're in a position, you know, where you've got a bike apart and you haven't put the cases and you don't want to, but the wrist pin bushings are bad, then you can change the wrist pin bushings right on the bike, you know, without having to pull them out and split the cases. So in order to do that, of course, you want to hold that rod steady. So I've got something made up. This kind of looks like this. And this goes onto the stud bolts. And then you can screw these in and just hold your rod in place so it won't flop back and forth. Now there's many different kinds of these things on the market, or if you're creative, you could make one yourself. But having the ability to change those bushings while the motor is still in the bike is a great advantage. So I thought I'd show you how this little tool works, and maybe you'll think about it yourself. So as with anything, I like to oil stuff up, and I've oiled my washers up here, and I've oiled my threads up. So we're just going to take the end off and we're going to slide our little bushing onto there. Thread that on, and we're going to slide this through and just screw it on here. That's also important. You see the bushing has a slot in it, and the slot must be up at the center of the rod. Takes a little bit, takes a bit of screwing. Get this lined up so that it's lined up with the bushing. And we've got our slot right at the top where we're wanting it. We're just going to try and give it a snug up, but just a little bit. Put some oil on it here. And while we're doing that, we have to hold this nut here so it doesn't turn. We only want to turn this end of it because we don't want to spin that bushing. So that bushing has to stay right in place where it is. So the easiest thing I've found for my own applications is to just get a set of vice grips onto it, and you can take up the slack, get that slot where you want it. There we go. All right, so we're lined right up where we should be. We're lined up in here, in behind, with our rod bushing. So we're just gonna turn this and start pulling it through. We're always keeping an eye on the slot to see that it hasn't moved. But if you get it coming in there straight, it won't move. Once it gets started in there, that's where it's going. If you're a little bit off, you can always take a small file and dress it up. And as you can see, we've just clamped our rod in the vise on brass jaws so that you won't mar the rod. And we don't stick it out too far because we don't want it way up top where you're trying to twist on it. So we're just trying to keep it low and keep it going. We're almost through to the slot, and it's good that they're going in good and tight. Now if you go through this procedure and you find that they're just out they came, you begin to wonder, oh, now what? I've put new bushings in them and they're not tight. I suppose in a hardcore situation you could put some green Loctite in there and try to hold them, but fortunately enough you can buy oversized bushings at 5 thou over etc. I think you can get them in 10 thou over even. So if you find you got a set of loose ones, don't panic. You can buy new wrist pin bushings. There we go. Our slot is right in the middle. So now we can loosen it up and just see how far our bushing is set in on both sides. And if we have to make an adjustment, we can. There we go. And I'm looking like I got a nice fit there on the rods. And of course, when you take this apart, your wrist pin, the old one is inside. So it just comes out that easy. So there, we've got just nice, even on both sides, and we've got our slot right in the middle. And that's what we want. So the next step will be go over to hone them out. So I'm going to do my other one. You can also put them in a press. You know, if you have a small brass piece like that, you know, that we can press it out. It's a little harder to support the round edges of this, you know, unless you have something you could set it on that would be straight and allow it to push out through, as with many things. But other than a little grunt, I find this little tool works just great, and I use it all the time. So good thing to keep in mind. I'll look it up and see if I can find a part number on it, and if I can, I'll put it right here. Also, when you're doing this, you want to keep it nice and straight. You don't want to be torquing and bending on this rod and putting pressure. So you try to get it at the best angle you can. Should have just pressed them in, I guess. But this shows you how the tool works. And we're looking good there. So we'll go over to our honing machine and hone them out to size. But before we do, I'm going to give you a couple suggestions as to things you can do when you're at this stage. Now, of course, if money's no object, you can buy yourself a proper reamer. Harley, in their ultimate wisdom, make stuff that's a thou over. So you can't buy a standard reamer, so you have to buy a specific reamer to do these. Poor man's way around it is with this. And this is what's called an expandable reamer, and you just loosen one side and tighten the other side and keep moving these blades, and as they move, they expand. So this is way undersized in here, I know. But the idea is that you just feed it through there and you start, you know, I'm not gonna walk it through at a really high level there. It'll take some time to do it. So if you decide to go the expandable reamer route, I've got a little bit of cutting oil or like honing oil here, and you could actually put some oil in there, spread it around, and then you adjust your reamer down to its smallest size to where it's just starting to go in there, and that's where I am. And you just let it walk its way in nice and easy, just like that. Don't turn reamers backwards to get them out. Always turn them the same direction. But then you can go along and you can start measuring your hole. What are we at on this particular one? I'm 775 thou. And my wrist pin, 791. So I'm gonna have to go 791 anyway. And then I want 0.8 of a thou to a little over a thou clearance on that. So, you know, a thousandths clearance is just nice. We don't want to get it too tight. So you can see there's quite a bit to go. My honing machine will take it off a lot faster, but you can do it with an expandable reamer. And like I say, just go one step at a time, especially when you're getting down near the end, like a quarter of a turn, and go through. It might seem frivolous, but it's very easy to just take that last cut and go too big, and then your old pin just slides right in there. So that's an option as well. But fortunately for me, I got an old honing machine, so I'm gonna step over there and we're gonna hone the ends out. So you get the idea there, what we have to go through to get this honed properly. We're gonna have to hone it, you know, and then we'll make sure it doesn't get too hot. Every time we measure it, we have to clean all of the grit or anything that's in here out before you try to fit your pin, or else it'll be very deceiving. You'll think, oh, I'll just give it a quick wipe, and then that goes in. But when you spray it out with brake clean, it'll take probably another thou off it, and you'll find that you're really loose. So we're just gonna take our time and work away at that, now that you've got the idea. And we'll see when we're done where we're at. So we've got our honing machine set up here, and I've got my stones in, and I've got this test piece that I can put on here. And this is just to make sure that I get my stones nice and straight. And that way I know I can get my hole nice and straight. So what we're gonna have to do is, I know I'm way up big size, so we're gonna have to lower that stone, and we'll just work it back and forth, keep rotating it. So we've sprayed all our ends down and let them cool down. We do that before we do the last cuts on them. I make sure they're nice and cool, because when you're fooling with a 1/2 thousandths of an inch, it's very easy to go over. Even like I said, if you don't clean them out well inside, that can give you that measurement. But we've cleaned these all out. They're just a nice fit there now. Just a very, very slight bit of drag, not really much of anything. There's no up and down play at all. So that's about what they should be like. You don't want to get them too tight. If you get them in there too tight, they can seize up on you. I've seen them do that and spin the race in the bushing in the rod. So I always caution on this. Always err on the side of caution a little bit, you know. But I've measured these up here now. So what I've got here is like close to 1/1000th of an inch clearance, which is just right. When you get the oil in there and everything else, they won't be too tight, they won't be a problem, and they're actually closer than what they were before, so it's definitely an improvement. So it's another piece of the puzzle done. I'm just waiting for parts to come today, and then we can get on with it. So we can check our little spacer here that we figured out what we need, and see if I can turn it so you can see a little better. Put a 10 I've got here, and it just will not go through. So we're putting the gasket on and holding our straight edge there, and I've tried a number 10 and it just won't quite go through. And we'll try a 9 and see if we can get that in. So we press down. I like to put quite a bit of pressure down on it. And the 9 just about goes in, but not quite. So I need an 8 or 8/1000ths of an inch. Again, we'll push down, put some pressure on it, and I can just slide my 8 in there. So I know that 6 away from 8 leaves me 2 thou clearance, so I'm good there. So these ones go 1950 to 1979 for the early style breathers. These ones go late 79 up to 81, and from 1982 they use the plastic ones. You can't mix and match these two. You must put plastic ones on plastic gears, steel ones on steel gears, and you can't mix and match these because of the size of the hole. So make sure that you use the right ones that you need for your application. So you can't mix and match them. Make sure you use the right spacer for your application, or else it can run you into some trouble. So those are the 3 kinds. It's easy to figure out what you need. If I haven't said so yet in this video, be sure to check out my buddies down south, Hippie's Chopper Corner and Slick Ed's Custom Cycles. And give my old buddy Gus a yell at this old chopper. So we've measured that all up. We've bolted our cover on with the gasket. And what we're trying to do is just make sure that we can move our little gear in here. So as you can see, the breather gear is down in here. And what we're going to do is just take a pick that we can move that back and forth. I don't know if you can hear that or not, but also we can rotate this gear just by turning the gear down here, and we can see that it's nice and free. So that's what we're looking for in there, to make sure that that cam gear or that breather gear has enough play when the cam cover is torqued on. You know, we've got a couple thousandths of an inch which is very good. If I had to go to the next smaller shim, I would be at 7/1000ths play, which is still acceptable in there, but it's nicer the closer you get, and then that gear doesn't walk around in there. All right, another small thing done, but we're getting there. And while this is all here now, I'm going to stick the cam seal in there, and an 1 1/8" socket is just about right for it. Try to get it so that it's just going to make sure that it's going in straight. And I just like to get a little small piece that I can put across the surface, and that'll ensure us that we're getting it sunk in there right. There we go. And that cam seal is in there, just nice. You just want to set it in there so that it's flush or a tiny bit below. You don't want to drive it down too far. If you do, the rubber lip will start hitting the bushing, and then it won't seal properly like it's supposed to. But that looks good. Good, another chore done. And as you can see, the cam seal is just in there nice. It's just slightly below the surface, just a little bit, but that's where we want it. And by placing the piece of metal across both surfaces, you know that you're going to drive it in there flat. So now we're going to put our cam bearing into while we're here. I've got this little driver, and it's got a sleeve around. You can see how it steps so that it fits the bearing and supports the inside of the bearings as well. You always have to tap on the numbered side, and one side is numbered, one side is right rounded. So you always have to tap on the numbered side. And again, we're going to put a bit of oil around the hole, and there's a very small lip on the back side, so you have to be careful that you don't drive it down so far that you bust that lip out. You should just go down, and you'll hear it when it bottoms out, and that's exactly what we're looking for. So we get her squared up in there, double checking number side up. Shouldn't take a lot of force. There we go. And we're down. You can hear how the sound changed. And we need it down in there because what we need, there's a small cutout in this area right here. And when the spacer goes on, this will allow oil to go down and oil this bearing, and that's what we want. If you leave the bearing out flush, there's no way for it to get oil. It won't interfere with the cam, but it won't be oiled. So when the spacer goes on, we need the oil to be able to go down through there. So you drive it in till you're seated in the lip in the bottom, and just like that, you can see that we're seated right down in there, and that's what we're looking for. Another small step. But that's what it takes, is a lot of small steps, but we're soon getting there. So we get all these little things done up, and I feel good about that. So we'll be on to getting the flywheels trued up, getting them cinched up and trued up, and then we can start putting the bottom end together. We can put the case halves together, and I'm waiting for the oil pump to come still, so we'll have to wait for that to get it fitted in, but it's coming together. It's coming together. Old Marley's going to be happy with her bottom end. Just as a note, I had Brad drop in yesterday to have a look on it on Sunday, to check it out. He happened to be down in this area, and got a hold of me and said, "Can I come out and have a look?" I said, "Sure." So I got a little piece there, just a little bit on Brad's visit, and he was pretty excited to see Marley coming along. How you doing? Good.
Very good. I'm good on the emails. When we come to Canada, I don't have a dedicated cell phone line, but what I have is a phone with internet on it.
Oh yeah.
So for me to give you a call, I need to grab somebody's phone and then ring.
Oh, is that right?
But I can send an email.
Yeah.
So,
I wondered that the other day.
Yeah.
I thought, well, I give you a call. There was a number on the crate.
Yeah.
And I wondered if you had that with you.
It doesn't work up here.
It doesn't work?
Yeah,
no.
my landline, right?
Oh,
so,
Jesus.
But anyways,
Hi.
they haven't looked like that in a while.
Yeah, so they look
Awesome.
they look a lot nicer.
Oh, I'm so pleased with
All
that.
done up, yeah. They were a little cruddy, but there's no cracks or, you know what I mean, anything that seemingly to lead to any problems at all. So I was really pleased with them.
Yeah, when I was looking at it, I thought, geez, there's a groove there. And I know
See that little tiny groove? Yeah.
Yeah.
But that oiling hole
This one's
goes
for
to here.
Right.
And that's for part of the primary chain oiling system and stuff like that.
That circulatory system
Yeah.
built in.
So I don't think it's, if it was me, I would run it like that.
Yeah, well, that's all I
I
need
don't
to
think
hear.
I'd bother with it. You know what I mean? Where you're not using the system, you know,
Kind of
most it's
deletes
going to
itself.
happen is just going to fill with oil in there like it always does. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Come on over. I'll show you some stuff as we're going. Your rods are finished. They're done now.
That's awesome.
Pin fits with them now. It's
Just the way they should be. That's awesome.
this is the pinion shaft and stuff. That's
Yeah.
all good shape.
Yeah.
The crank pin, when I got to measuring it, it's smaller in the middle. It's let
Yeah.
down. If the whole thing wears evenly, like a half a thou, it's not unusual. But if it's
She's
in and out like that,
She's grooved.
so I got a new crank pin for it. Actually, that's here.
Well, what a story this thing could tell then.
Yeah. This one here is a 70A, which is the early ones, and this one's a 78.
Oh, so these
And
aren't
the
the original.
78 is usually with the 80-inch flywheel. Right, that's where they draw the 70s go up to, you know, they're the 74 cubic inch, and then,
Interesting.
yeah.
So there's a story to be told here that we don't know about.
Yeah, somewhere along the way,
Someone
you know,
split the cases and did something.
yeah, so, what year is it?
76.
76.
Yeah, well, according to the serial number, it's a 76 case.
Yes,
And according, that serial number matches the frame. So
Okay.
that particular bike was a 76 FX.
okay,
The engine that was on its side,
yes,
that was the 74. That's the one we're working on. So I knew
Okay.
or excuse me, a 1976.
Yeah.
74 inch.
great.
The heads on that were trashed. I think it had a hard life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I like the idea of having a numbers matching frame. And,
Yes.
And that's just, I like that.
Sure,
Right? Some
sure.
guys don't care. I like
Sure.
it.
But that's why I asked, because I knew you said at one point though 81 heads, and I thought, well, what's out of
Yeah.
what?
So do you think, well, we don't know, but do you think that these have been kind of Frankenstein together, or do you think this is how they came from factory? Perhaps we'll never know, but...
It's hard to say in a 76 motor how you get 78 heads.
Well, and that was it.
78 pieces in it, right?
And it's interesting because that was a pivot. I think they started changing things up, like in 77 they started changing
That's
part
right.
numbers and stuff.
Yeah, that's right. So it's, you know, it leads me to believe it was rebuilt.
I bet it was, because if you look at the inside of the case on the pinion side, there's a bunch of grooves in it. I don't
Oh,
know,
yeah.
something let go at one point.
Something may have happened with the,
dropped down in there.
with the, you know, that's this wheel.
Yeah.
That's this wheel. So something may have happened with that
And
wheel.
tore it up.
And tore it up. And so they put this in it, right? You know,
That's
so
a cool
it's-
part of the story anyway.
Yeah,
Who
it's
knows,
neat.
right?
You know, when you see that kind of stuff, it just leads me to question. For some of you that are wondering how I made out with finding a brake piston for my Dragon bike, I did get one out of a place in the U.S. There, you know, they advertised them for $40 U.S. It was well over $100 by the time I got here. And when it got here, the small seal that goes on the outside of the master cylinder to keep anything from dribbling out. As soon as I grabbed it in my fingers, it literally disintegrated into pieces, as you can see in this picture here. There's nothing even left of it. Now that's a very important part of the brake, you know, to keep it from leaking. At least I got the other piece that I could modify and make work, but you know, I needed that piece. So that's where I'm at. I'm down to taking something out of some other one possibly that I can adapt something or machine something up in the end out of nylon or something to be a stop in there to try and stop any leaks that might happen in there. I'm gonna have to work with it because I can't send it back. It'll cost me all kinds of money and paperwork to send it back. And if I order another one, it'll be well over $100 here and about three to 4 weeks before I get it. So I give up. That's what it is. I don't know what's gonna happen. I sent them email and told them what the problem is, so we'll see how they deal with it. So it turns out I'm waiting for an update call on some parts that I got coming. So I think I'll put the bearings in the case. So I don't want to put the green on this and do that until I'm ready to do it, true it, and then tighten it. So this is the centerpiece that's got to go in there. And as we say, this has to line up with the hole in here so that oil can come down through. So we're going to try to get it in there approximately in the right position. So we just tap it down in there. You got to go a ways to where it will flip up just a little bit more. And And the reason we're doing it this way is because we don't want to tear up the inside of this where our bearing surface is going. And that'll just about put us in the right position. And I'm off by a little bit. I could tap it around, but I'd rather get it close to start with, because sometimes when you put them in there, they're in there pretty solid and they don't want to move around. Pretty close there. And pretty good. Those are in the groove there. We're just gonna tap it down in there, making sure that we're going into the groove. Here we go, we've popped right in. And it is off by a little bit, but you can usually tap those around. Okay, and that's what we want inside. With the gap, I know it's probably hard to see here, but the gap is there where the oil hole is here, and we want the two lined up. So we'll put the inside one in first, and what I do is, because the kits always come with an orange twist tie and they're a match set, when I put the race on the inside, I always put the orange twist tie on my bearing, so I know that that's the inside one. And we're going to put a little bit of oil on that. Just help it slide in there a little bit easier. They can be tough when they're really, really dry. Start by trying to tap it down in there and get it so that it's square before we press it in the rest of the way. And we're looking good in there, so we're just gonna put it in the press now and press that down against the bearing. There we go, and that one's in there. Now we'll do the same with the other one. And we know, like I said, that's my inside one. This one's a little trickier to get started in there. But we can use this. Tap it down in there. And we'll have to support the case on this side. Custom made piece here. Fits the bearing hole. You always have to support that side or you'll bust the case. So now we just have a good visual check and make sure that the race is against the center clip as far as it can go, and that one looks great. And that one looks great. So now we know they're seated into position. All right, so those are ready to go together. When I get the flywheels trued, then I can put the case half on, use my tool to get the bearings down into position, and then that half will be done. Also this week I had a gentleman drop in and see me from, I believe he said he was from Nebraska, and I think his name was Denny. I'm trying to remember, but if it's not Denny, you know who I'm talking about, and I want to thank you very much for dropping in. He had traveled all the way up here, but traveled through the Maritimes and around, and stopped somebody on the road and asked him if he knew where Ralph the mechanic was, and the guy brought him right out to my door, fortunately, so it was great to see him. He also dropped by and dropped me some Big Mike's brake fluid, a special jug of that, and a tube of Yamabond 4. Now, I had mentioned way back in a lot of my videos that here in Canada I couldn't get the Yamabond anymore, and I was using another type of sealer, but I was always really happy with the Yamabond. And bless his soul, he brought me a package of Yamabond 4. So thank you very much, Denny. I know you were headed back down. You were going to grab the ferry the next day and we got rain, so I hope you were laid on the ferry, taking it easy, and have a safe trip back home. Thanks very much for dropping by. I really appreciate it. So we got most of the small things done, and we were starting on our flywheels, and I've run into a bit of problem with the flywheels, and as I explained a little bit, there's difference between the flywheels. But be sure to stick with us next week, because I'm going to try to give an extensive, well, not extensive, but as best as I can, to tell you how to identify these different flywheels, what the difference is, the different sorts of crank pins that are in them, and the way to know what you're looking at. If you're going to a swap meet and you see them there and you think, oh, there's a good set of flywheels I could use, it'd be nice to have the information as to what's what, and it's hard to find on the internet, so I'm digging through my old notes from Kurt and referencing things up and refreshing my mind on a lot of things that I was taught. So next week I'm going to try to pass that on to you. So in the meantime, check out my buddies down south, Hippie's Chopper Corner and Slickhead's Custom Cycles. Them boys got a lot on the go. Hip's up against the wall for his biker build-off challenge, so he's got his hands full. Good luck to you, Hip. I hope you make headway on that. I see you're just sending it out to get painted, and Slick, you just had a nice video there about out for a ride with your club members. How nice to be out there on them smooth glass roads that you got down there, not like what we have up here. So check them boys out, Hippie's Chopper Corner, Slickhead's Custom Cycle. Give them a like and a subscribe. So it's time to pack it in for another day, and if you've been watching along and you've seen this one and wonder what went on before, check it out here at the start of the Marley series. Here is at part 1, or check out one of our other videos here, and maybe you'll find something that you like. Stick around. I'll see you next week.